I want this boat.
Built in 1928. Designed by the Baglietto Yard, Variazze, Italy. Nothing like it in the world. Rarer than rare. It's not for sale.
I don't want to buy it with money. I want to win it. With a dance.
With dance. With a dance.
Dance. Why did I say I would dance? I don't know how to dance. Why did I say I would dance? What was I thinking? What was I thinking?
Well, let me just pin it up at the front.
It definitely feels too tight under here.
Yes.
We're going to 2, 3 thumb.
Right, in you go.
Oh, this is perfect. Is that a piano? Is that working?
Yeah. It's a very old piano, but it's got a lovely tune, you know. What did you want it for, anyway?
A bit of fun.
No. Fun? Oh.
Oh, well. Let's get on with it then. Hello?
Charles Ireland, CEO, MD, East African Breweries. Pleasure to be speaking to you today after the release of what I thought were better than expected numbers. The reason I'm saying better than expected is because we had this thing hanging over us with Senator. If you don't mind, can we just touch on that first?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Ali Khan, great to be sitting with you again.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
No, it's mine.
And I'm really proud of the results. I think that they are testament to the dedication, the hard work of nearly 1,500 EABL employees, or our supplier partners and other partners in the marketplace. And they've been achieved despite some strong headwinds, particularly on the Senator issue. The Senator thing was, the government decided to tax Senator, so tax those consumers who were buying Senator, and they're very, very price sensitive because they don't have very much money. And when the decision was taken, it was rationalised with, actually this will give us revenue of 6.2 billion shillings a year. And they haven't achieved anything like it because consumers have stopped buying Senator as a result of the price hike. And that's got huge consequences. Obviously it affects our numbers. I'll come back to that in a minute. But it also affects the retailers. We had 12,000 dedicated or almost dedicated retailers serving Senator to consumers. 4,000 of them have closed. Those businesses are, the hopes and dreams of retailers, right, have been smashed as a result. Our distributors, some of them have gone out of business, others are under financial strain. We've got relationships with 20,000 farmers in Kenya.
You were mentioning sorghum. A massive stockpile of sorghum.
Yeah, so we contracted to buy 20,000 tonnes of sorghum in order to convert it into Senator. When the excise tax hit, the demand dropped, so we don't need the sorghum anymore. But because we're a values-led business with high integrity, we've honoured those contracts. And we're now sitting on 13,000 tonnes of sorghum. Now we'll do something with that. We'll either sell it off or convert it into product or something. But we're not going to be renewing the contracts with the farmers, and that's going to have kind of huge implications for the farming communities. And we talked about the social impact.
Yeah, well, every time I was opening the paper, there were people dying at one point.
It's tragedy. It's we look at the news. I watch the BBC quite a lot, and I see you on it occasionally. And
Thank you.
And when I'm not seeing you on the BBC, I'm seeing tragedies on plane crashing, ferries, typhoons, what have you. I think the Kenyan tragedy on illicit alcohol is right up. It is, a Kenyan national tragedy. So the government took a decision to put excise tax on Senator, and it hasn't worked for them. I think in net terms, while they've got a bit of revenue from excise tax, I think they've lost VAT, they've lost income tax, they've put people out of work on the street. And I think in net terms, they've lost money. And if government was a business, it would look at the consequences of a decision and say, we need to make a correction.
That's right.
And, I hope that they do. If they do, then it'll make, Senator sustainable for us. If they don't, quite frankly, it's not sustainable at the moment. We'll have to take a decision on it at some point.
I think Ivan, in the Diageo results, pretty much said that he did not expect the government to adjust, from what I could gather from those comments.
Yeah, I didn't quite take that out of his comments.
Okay.
But, we know that the government's got, lots of things that it's got to consider. I hope that it kind of factors into its decision making the farmers, the retailers, the outlet owners, the consumers who are now kind of turning to illicit alcohol. And on top of that, we're ready and waiting to go. We've got the kegs, we've got the the kegging plant, we've got the brewery, we've got the distributors. What you see from the numbers,
which
better than expected. Right?
That's right.
What you see from the numbers is we've still been able to record a growth in profitability, even though that's
net sales growth as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So 4%.
So what you could take out of that, Ali Khan, is that Senator, big volume for us, much less importance for us from a profitability perspective. And you go, well, how is that true? Well, actually, because it's a value brand in a value sector, and actually its primary reason for being was about creating an alternative to illicit and to do a social good rather than to create profitability for EABL shareholders. So, I hope for many reasons that the decision gets reversed. But at the moment, we're operating as if it's not going to be, and we'll have to kind of factor future performance into our decision making.
So I think when you described it in there as fierce winds impacted our business. So that was the fierce wind, I suspect, that you were referring.
That was the biggest one. We also had our Tanzania business. We're continuing to learn how to do business in Tanzania. There's a big and very capable competitor in Tanzania, and they're giving us kind of a tough time. So Tanzania was
But Tanzania was relatively recent addition to the portfolio.
Yeah, within the last 3 or 4 years, and it takes a little bit of time to learn how to do business in that way in a new country, and to get that business up to our standards of operating in line with our ways of operating. And we've done some hard work on the business in Tanzania this year, and as I have said a couple of times, our Q4 in Tanzania was very strong.
You mentioned that. You said it was the strongest quarter you've had.
Yeah, and for me, I hope that that's a sign of continued good performance. So, I'm confident that Tanzania is going to be a stronger contributor for us in F15, and the work that we've done is going to standards is.
Can I stay with the geographical analysis? Kenya still, according to the results I saw, 64% net sales volume, down only 1% in the context of Senator. I think you were saying if we stripped out Senator, it was up 18.2%.
18.2%.
So very robust given the circumstances. And how do you explain that?
Well, look, our Kenyan business is not only Senator, obviously.
No, obviously.
Senator was a big volume contributor and gave us revenue, but not so much profitability, as I've just talked about, and we've got tremendous other assets. The Tusker brand is
No, I think
phenomenal.
you were plus 17 on
17% across the region, including led by a very good performance in Kenya. Guinness was up 20%.
Yes.
Kenya Cane was up double digits. Our spirits performance across each one of the sectors was really strong. We restructured the business. When I came, we talked about it before. I looked at our group structure, and we had 140 people taking decisions in our group, which were then being implemented in the markets. And I like decisions to be taken a lot closer to customers and consumers. So we moved a lot of roles into the markets and eliminated them in the group. And we took restructuring costs as a result of that, as a result of other reorganisations that we did in Kenya and elsewhere. And whilst doing all of that work, we were able to record 18% growth on everything except for...
That was tremendous.
for
Well done.
I'm really proud of it. Thank you.
So 64% Kenya. Uganda's second, really, by geography, with 18%.
Yeah.
And interestingly, quite a muscular performance came out of Uganda.
Yeah, well, if you you remember a year ago,
Yes.
Uganda was a bit more challenging.
Very
right?
that's why I'm, yes.
Yeah, so I think I said something similar to about Uganda that last year, as I'm saying about Tanzania this year, which is there were some things that we needed to fix. We're getting on and fixing them, and we expect that those actions will pay dividends in the future. Now, a year later, what am I seeing in Uganda? I am seeing the Bell brand benefiting from the market work that we're doing, from some pricing decisions. I'm seeing Uganda, we're actually growing really, really strongly. I'm seeing our Reserve brand portfolio, which was the most expensive brands.
Which I think you were talking about growing overall at above 60%.
Yeah, about 60%.
So that's still in that sort of steep upwards trajectory, which is getting everyone excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've said a couple of times now is, if you want to enjoy our Reserve brands in a great environment, go to Kampala.
Somebody tweeted me back and said, "Why? Why should they?"
Because the team in Kampala and the team in Uganda have done the best job of all of our markets in making sure that we've got great relationships with the top end outlets, that the portfolio is available, that the bar staff know how to serve it brilliantly. You get great consumer experiences.
And we're talking about King George, we're talking about Johnny Walker Blue Label.
We're talking about Ciroc, we're talking about
Single Malt,
we're talking about Single Malt, all of those brands. So Uganda, much improved performance against quite challenging economic situation.
Yes, that's why I'm interested.
Civil servants not getting paid on time. Some of the donor funding being withdrawn for different reasons.
That's right.
And challenging economic environment. We grew our revenue by 13%.
Yes,
it's not in the deck, but our profit grew by over 50%.
Wow! So big turnaround there.
So a performance which I was expecting the team to deliver, and they have largely, if not wholly, delivered that. And I expect that we'll build off of that base in F15 and beyond.
So Tanzania, we've already had a look at 11%. EABLI, which is your export markets, and South Sudan, isn't it?
So about 70% of EABLI's revenue is achieved in South Sudan.
Yes.
The other markets, or the other sectors of that cluster, are Rwanda, Burundi, Eastern DRC, plus EABLI deals with all of our duty-free business and any exports that we make overseas. And therefore, the performance is kind of made or broken by South Sudan, really.
Yes.
And
but you're reporting plus 50% there.
Plus 50, yeah. So as we know, the South Sudan environment was quite challenging at different times. It kind of flared up, the civil unrest and violence flared up, and then it went away again, and
Yes.
then it flared up again,
Yes.
if you remember.
Your operation is just out of Juba.
Yeah, so we've got a depot just outside of Juba that we opened up early in the financial year. We got it on its feet, and then the violence flared up, and there were bullets flying
Yes.
across the compound.
Oh, wow.
So we said to our people,
You
right,
closed it at that point?
yeah, we closed the depot. We've got a number of expatriates who work there. We brought them home, and we said, right, let's kind of safety is our number one priority. So we stopped operating for a while. To be fair, the distributors in South Sudan also stopped as well. They kept their money in their pocket and their heads
Yes.
down. But then when things quietened down again, we were able to supply the market, and we've made a couple of changes in our export markets, including introducing cans for
Yes.
our beer brands instead of the traditional glass packaging. And consumers and retailers really prefer cans. I think partly because there's much more take home,
Yes.
so they consume at home, and they don't want to be troubled with the extra weight of the glass and then bringing it back to the deposits and stuff. So it's been a really good move for us.
Can I go now into sort of the product breakdown mix, right? So I'm going right at the top end, which is obviously something I like to
Yeah.
partake in
And
occasionally.
we thank you for your support.
I always get in trouble when I do that. Obviously reserve spirits, speaking to this sort of emerging upper middle class, really. I think we had triple-digit growth 3 years ago. So it's really been on this steep curve. What's that telling you about this region? Are you excited about that? What should we take away from what was a very fast-growing piece of your portfolio?
Yeah, so look, I kind of need to temper some of your comments by giving a bit of context in that the vast majority of our business is still beer.
What is the breakdown? Beer, spirits.
Look, I can't give you the exact numbers, but it's the 80-20 rule pretty much applies.
And really, it's unusual when you look at it in the Diageo portfolio mix because I think spirits is a bigger component, isn't it, typically?
Yes, it is, but EABL is, whilst it's a Diageo entity, it has been around in East Africa for 92 years.
1922, I think.
1922, the first Tusker was enjoyed by Kenyans.
Wow.
And has grown up as a beer business. I've seen some commentary over the last few weeks and months about asking questions about how good Diageo is at growing beer business.
Yes.
Well, anybody who wants to kind of know the answer to that should come to East Africa.
Yeah.
We grew our premium beers by high teens this year. We grew our mainstream beers by mid-teens this year. And I've already said Tusker grew by 17%, Guinness grew by 20%. We know how to grow beer.
Those are good numbers.
We know how to grow beer.
Yeah.
And
when you were in Malaysia, sorry to interrupt you, wasn't that a beer business in Malaysia?
it was a beer
Yes,
business,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So
Sorry.
no, that's okay. I could give you my CV. If you want. I joined Diageo in beer. I went into global marketing, which was spirits. I went into a general management role, which was a spirits role, and then into a beer role, and now I'm in beer and spirits here in EABL. So we know how to grow beer, and our performance on premium and mainstream beer is somewhat hidden by the performance on Senator, which is an external factor for me. But a good performance. On spirits, we grew reserve spirits by 60%, mainstream and premium spirits by close to 20%. Each one of them was close to 20%. And then value spirits, we grew by 75% also.
Wasn't value spirits seen by you as a defensive measure given what had happened to Senator?
Yeah,
was it a straight replacement?
No, it wasn't. But I've said a few times that our competitors should be careful of what they wish for.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, our competitors were eger for the excise tax to go on Senator in a way that I'm really disappointed by.
Yes.
But they thought that it would weaken EABL. what it actually did was encourage us to be even more competitive
Yes,
in sectors
innovative.
that they were in. So premium beer in Kenya hasn't grown by the amount that we've grown. So we've taken share off.
Well, that's the point you were
competitors.
making, which was an interesting one, because
Yeah, and I believe that, well, both of the foreign companies who are trying to establish a business here,
yes,
they've changed their senior officers in the last few months, and
Okay.
I think maybe I've had a hand in that.
well done.
Which I'm very pleased about. And similarly, there's a local player in beer, and they don't publish their numbers, but I'm pretty sure their numbers reflect that as we've replaced the Senator performance with performance elsewhere, it's been kind of out of their performance. So competitively, we've been a stronger business this year.
You've proven very agile, actually, for
Yeah,
a,
we
for
try
a
to be.
94-year-old company.
I thought you were going to say for a big man. But yeah, look, we need to be, more entrepreneurial, more agile. We need to act like an owner. All of our staff need to act like an owner. It's one of our kind of key behaviours that we're trying to foster. So we got onto that through Value Spirits.
Yes.
And Value Spirits, we brought new innovations into the market, new brands, new variants in order to grow our share of Value Spirits. We haven't grown that sector by very much, but what we've done is we've become a bigger player. So our performance in Kenya has been enabled by a dedicated team who didn't give up. They were faced with a big challenge, and they found ways of kind of mitigating the impact of that. And I'm really proud of them.
Well done.
The team there have done great work.
Charles, can I go back to the numbers? I remember, for a long time, people were concerned about the amount of borrowing that had been put on the balance sheet. And, my response was, you're not going to grow unless you start, you put some borrowing for the acquisition of Tanzania. And I saw today that the interest charges for the full year were considerably higher. Plus 10. Can you just give us a perspective on what's happening there on total borrowing? You had a loan from the parent, and what have you done this year on that front?
Yeah, so we've done a lot actually. Tracy Barnes, the Group Finance Director, once kind of described what we've done as being a little bit like, buying a house and taking a mortgage out on it.
Yeah.
You don't pay off the mortgage in year one,
No,
but you've acquired an asset which is going to serve you for years and years and years to come. And the decisions that we took just before I arrived to buy out a minority shareholder in Kenya, to buy the business in Tanzania, on reflection, as I look back at it objectively, were absolutely the right decisions. It's enabled us to be far more competitive in far more flexible.
Well, you had a competitor who had a stake in your business in Kenya, 20%, I think, wasn't it?
And was limiting our portfolio development, limiting how much innovation we could do. Had a board seat as a result of their ownership, and was a drag on our performance. We've got rid of that now, and that enables us to do some of the things that you've seen the results of today. Similarly, Tanzania, we used to do business through that competitor, and we had quite a nice little franchise for Tusker, but we were never going to be a serious player there whilst we were going through a competitor. So exiting out of that relationship and getting our own business was absolutely the right thing to do. Now that costs money, and we chose to do it in a certain way, and that was by taking out borrowings. We could have done it in other ways, and we chose to do it the way that we did, and it's put some strain on our balance sheet. Over the last year, we've taken some steps to get ourselves into kind of a more robust position. We've had a commercial paper program here in Nairobi.
What's the size of that now?
I think we've got a facility for I think 5.4 billion shillings, but we've only taken out about 4.5 billion.
That's what it looked. Okay, so that was that. Yes.
Yeah,
okay. And are you finding that because we're in an interesting rate environment post the Eurobond, it seems rates are easing, so that might also play into your favour.
Well, I think that the cost of money here in Nairobi is out of step with the certainly the kind of the developed world, but I think it's got to converge at some point, and it's going to converge downwards, right? So
that's what I think.
So that raises the prospects for us that our borrowings will go down, but we need to kind of generate cash from our operations.
Yes.
And as and when we do that, we'll use it to pay down the borrowings. If you look at our kind of revenue line this year, 4% up. Strip out Senator, it was 16% up. And that's one of the reasons that I kind of look back on F14 with a kind of tinge of kind of regret and sadness, because if Senator hadn't have happened, we would have been in a different position.
Absolutely.
With regard to kind of our overall financial position. But we are where we are. Looking forward, we dipped a toe in the water with the commercial paper program. Delighted with the response. It feels like the financial market here in Nairobi in East Africa is ready and willing to support businesses like ourselves. So with kind of the learning that we've taken from that, I'd like us to move to MTN program. We need regulatory approval for that, and we'll be seeking that at some point in the future. And then we've still got a large intercompany loan.
Yes, is that still just below 20 billion?
No, it's more actually. It's 22 billion.
22 billion.
And
floating off the T-bill?
T365 plus, or 364 plus 1.5.
Right, so that's going to allow you to get the benefit as well of any reducing rate environment.
Which it will. So we will adjust it as the rates come down. But I'd quite like to migrate some of that to kind of local money and local financing. If we can get local financing in a way that's competitive with what we get on the intercompany, we'll bring that here to Nairobi as well. And one of the reasons I want to do it is because I wanted us to kind of help build the market here. I think if we can help build the market, then we can help build the ecosystem of partners that we need. I was delighted to hear that a manufacturer is going to be manufacturing cans in Mombasa, for instance. At the moment, we source our cans from Europe. We have to place orders months and months in advance and wait for ships to travel across the seas past the Mali pirates and stuff, and then kind of come into Nairobi. Can manufacturer on the coast, we've already said we will give them our business, and we'll get double benefit from that. So we'll get lower prices, and we'll get more flexibility in terms of lead times and stuff. So it's good for us. It's good for the manufacturer because it knows that a big company like ours is going to support them. And quite frankly, it's good for the economy. The economy as well.
This is what African economies need. It's value addition, right?
Yeah. So
that's a great message.
Yeah, and look, we're moving to local sourcing. I've taken a policy decision. We've got to kind of follow through and make sure it always makes sense. But so wherever possible, we're going to source locally. Now, in the past, we've chased the lowest price, wherever it is in the world. But for instance, on our local raw materials, we're going to even take some short-term pricing pain in order to work with local farmers, or rather than buying our malt from Europe. I'd much prefer that it's grown here, malted here, even if the price is a little bit higher. Partly because again it builds the market for us, and then builds overall performance of Kenya and East Africa.
Absolutely. CapEx 6.8 billion, I think.
6.8 billion this last year. We were finishing off a number of projects that we'd started. We needed to upgrade a few of our facilities, including in Tanzania. We wanted to replace our external warehousing with internal warehouse, which was 1.5 billion. Something like that. improve the spirits manufacturing facilities to enable us to build the spirits volumes. We've finished off a number of projects, and our capex expenditure has peaked. So 6.8 billion last year. I think it'll be 4.5 to 5 billion this year, and then a lower number again.
So we're
year.
trending lower now. You're not seeing any big lumpy spend.
Well, we've got one or two bits and pieces. Like we've got a glass business, and we're rebuilding the furnace there. That's 1.5 billion. We've got a number of things that we will do to make sure that our business is in great shape. But the major upgrading cycle that we went through over the last 2 to 3 years, that's coming towards an end now.
Charles, within the context of this week, we've had the US-Africa summit. We've had all this sort of excitement. President Obama.
I heard you on the BBC.
Oh, thank you for hearing me.
Interview on that. I saw you actually.
No, thank you. My mother-in-law said I'm looking too tubby.
Really?
Yes, from Malawi. I'll leave that out. No, but look, all this excitement about Africa, about investment in Africa.
Yeah.
This is a major investment by a British company on the continent. It has longevity. Yeah. What is your perspective on this whole story? Are we in a good spot? You've come back from Asia. I know are we the next Asia? Are we still a long way away? What is your takeaway from all? You've been now in the seat for more than a year.
Yeah, about.
How are you reading it?
Out, 15 months or so. Look, let me give you a balanced view, right? So, one thing to say is that money talks, right?
Yes.
And if you say, well, okay, let me look at EABL and see what you think about it. Well, you'll see last year a 13% increase in marketing and commercial investment. You'll have seen 6.8 billion investment in capex. You see investments in route to consumer.
Yes.
You see us making investments ahead of current performance in order to secure our future here in East Africa. We do that because we're confident about the outlook. If I think just for the year and a bit that I've been in Nairobi, it's changed so much.
Do you feel that?
Oh, I do. Yeah. So, I drive to the airport.
Yes.
Using the perimeter
the one that
now.
goes, yes.
And
the bypass.
The bypass. And last year, it was like driving through countryside, right?
And now? It's just
and now, you don't drive that way, right? Do you not drive that way?
I've done it twice. It's packed.
It's packed.
Yeah.
There's so many retail outlets there. There's, bars, there's, restaurants, there's shops. I think in another year's time, it'll almost be a continuous strip of developed property. And that's just in a year. It was, I can remember when I arrived here, I took that bypass and there was nothing.
Nothing at all.
But now it's really, really sprung up. And, if I think back to my Asia experience, I think that what I saw in Asia was skyscrapers going up. I saw road and rail networks being developed. I saw port infrastructure being developed. I saw electricity generating infrastructure, telecommunications infrastructure all coming in. Big enabler of the rest of the business ecosystem, SMEs, international companies, manufacturing businesses. It's going to happen here. Absolutely certain it'll happen here. However, the future isn't certain. The future isn't one that we just kind of wait for.
Yes.
I think that Kenya and East Africa has got to work hard to achieve that destiny. The government's got to make great policy decisions. It's got to kind of drive for eradication of corruption. It's got to make sure that money invested here actually goes to work rather than into pockets, personal pockets. It's got to make sure that ease of doing business is improved. I think that the East Africa community idea is one that I really subscribe to. But for me, as a businessman in East Africa, it isn't working yet.
Isn't it?
Well, let me give you an example. barley farmers in Tanzania. We have a demand for their produce because we've got a need for barley as a raw material. However, we don't have a malting facility in Tanzania. We've got one here in Nairobi, but we don't have one in Tanzania. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to buy from barley farmers in Tanzania,
Malt it here.
send the product here, get it malted, and then re-import it back into Tanzania to use in our breweries. We've got, and you call it toll malting. Unfortunately, we're taxed like it's from Europe.
Wow.
Even though it's grown in, we would be taxed like it was from Europe, even though it's grown in Tanzania. And because of the transportation costs, it actually makes financial sense for us to buy malt from Europe rather than contract
But
with
this
Tanzanian.
is the irony of so many parts of
Isn't it
Africa. I
crazy?
mean, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
And
So-
you wonder how it can last like
so
that.
we've got a malting facility here. We could put people to work here in Nairobi. We could build the economy here in Nairobi, and we could build the economy in Tanzania. But because of the way that it's being treated at the moment, it just doesn't make sense to us. So that sort of thing, you know, and there are many, many other examples. I think, you know, at senior leader level in government, they're emotionally in that space. They want taxes and tariffs to be reduced and eliminated in order to allow for free movement. But the next step after that is the
Execution.
The execution has to happen. So they've got to harmonise the categories. They've got to go through kind of category by category, product by product, to eliminate those issues and work through to get rid of them. If that could happen, it will help accelerate the development of East Africa, and will help, you know, make sure that we're on a journey towards achieving the destiny that is absolutely possible here.
Two last questions.
Yeah.
You were mentioning on this, I don't know whether to call it CSR or CSI, or how do you characterize it now?
Yeah, well, we call it CR, corporate responsibility.
In your
Others
CR,
call it CSR.
it seemed the
corporate
big
social
effort was
responsibility.
on water.
Yeah, it has been for many
And
years.
that number I saw, 1 million, you brought fresh water to 1 million East Africans last year.
Through digging boreholes or water systems through from rivers or whatever. Yeah, and I'm really proud of that.
That was a big number. I thought that
It's
was
a huge
a
number,
significant
and
achievement.
I think since we started the programme, something like 5 million
Wow.
East Africans have benefited from our water development
But
project.
this is also an Africa-wide project, isn't it? Or
Yeah, so Diageo across Africa have had this project Water for Life. I'm proud to say that East Africa has led the way, and we've made the most progress of any area of Africa.
Charles, I'm going to finish up because I don't think I emphasised enough that I really thought those results were really, really good against the first half as well as against the Senator backdrop. So I want to wholeheartedly congratulate you on those, because I appreciate that you were having to dig at one point, dig yourself out of a situation. I think you've done it tremendously well. Congratulations to you and your team. And I really think you pulled a rabbit out of the hat today, in my opinion. And I think it's down to a lot of your leadership, which did not take a knock back.
That's so kind.
No, well,
My
it's,
mother-in-law, well, unfortunately she's passed away, but
Yes.
she'd be delighted to hear that.
Well, I'm sure your daughter will be happy as well, because last time she watched your
She
Mind
did.
Speak on YouTube,
She
I
did.
think.
She
So I was so
did.
pleased about that.
She did. By the way, she thought I looked younger than you.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh. I'll have to. You do. You got your hair still. Charles, looking forward.
Yeah.
Let's look forward. You
Yeah.
know, you played some solid defense. You went on the offense where you could. You know, great game we've seen here now.
Yeah.
What are we up to in the next 12 months, next 18 months? Loyal shareholders rallied your share price to a 2014 high ahead of this earnings release. I wish I'd bought them a few months back at the lows, 219, now at 3 something.
Me too.
Where's Charles where is the captain taking the ship over the next 12 to 18 months?
Great question. Look, I forgive you for embarrassing me about that commentary, but We want to be the best performing, most trusted and respected consumer goods company in the whole of Africa. And the board, we presented a form of words to the board, and the board said that isn't challenging enough, you need to aim higher. We said in East Africa, and they said you're already pretty much there. So we want to be up there in Africa as the best performing, most trusted and respected consumer goods company. So that's where we're heading.
Yes.
That's the start on the horizon. In order to get there, we're working on a number of things, and you've seen some of those things actually happen over the last 12 months. But you know, when I kind of distill our strategic focus areas down, I think about 6 areas. Strengthening our premium core brands. So strengthening Tusker, Uganda Waraji, Bell, Serengeti, Kenya Cane, Johnny Walker, Bailey's, Smirnoff, our premium core brands. We've got loads of fantastic brands. We need to have them in great shape. In the same way that Chelsea make sure that all of their footballers are in great physical shape and trained and coached in order to be able to perform on the football field. We need to train and coach and develop our brands to make sure that they're strong to be able to perform in the marketplace. So strengthening premium core is a priority. Second one, innovate at scale.
Yes. And
you've seen some of the things that we've done. Our innovation program, I think, in 2014.
You were very bullish about it in there.
So look, I think if I look back on what we did in 2014, I think it was we brought more quality innovations into the marketplace last year than EABL has probably done at any point in the last 20, 30, 40 years. However, we've got even more to come. So our innovation pipeline is stacked full of stuff that will kind of blow your socks off. I would say make your hair go white, but it will. You know, you'll be astounded about some of the stuff that we're going to do. A key challenge for us is to make sure that we phase the introductions in such a way that we don't overload the commercial team with too much. And I call it implementation collision. We've got to avoid having that kind of collision, because sometimes you can destroy value by trying to do too much all at the same time. So we're going to pace ourselves, but we've got a lot, and I'm really proud with what we've got. So that's number 2. Number 3 is our reserve brands.
Yes.
You asked me a question which I didn't answer. Why are reserve brands growing so much? They're growing so much because there's over 5,000 US dollar millionaires in Nairobi.
Yes, yes.
10 years ago, there wasn't that many.
So is that the indicator that you're looking at? Is that the leading indicator?
It's one of them. As economies develop, you have an emerging middle class. At the top end of the emerging middle class, you've got consumers who will like to be able to offer their guests, when I come to your house one day, I hope you offer me a Johnny Walker Blue Label.
I certainly will.
Or, you know, the wealthy in society, the high net worth individuals, would have Blue Label or King George V or whatever. There is demand out there already, and that demand is only going to grow over the next few years. We want to be really well placed to capture our fair share and more than our fair share of that demand. So seeding and developing the reserve brand portfolio is something that we've done over the last 2 to 3 years, and it'll be an area of attention for us going forwards. Into kind of so they're the kind of 3 product related areas: strengthen premium core, innovate, and reserve. And then as I look deeper into the organisation, then I think about drive out costs to investment growth. So driving out costs is a key area for us. We're pretty good on costs already. However, we can benchmark ourselves against the best cost management of businesses like our own around the world, and we can have initiatives to save expense in our businesses, and what that enables us to do is to create more investment money elsewhere into our business. The next area is strengthen our routes to consumer. We've worked really hard in Tanzania. I described some of the kind of effect, the way of working in Tanzania and some of the effect before. But by having a really strong route to consumer, we can be even more competitive, get even more of our brand messages across to retailers, across to consumers. And route to market is, or route to consumer is a really key area of focus for us. And then the last one is people. Yeah, EABL's a great business. It's got fantastic breweries. The product quality is excellent. The brand health is good and increasing. You know, we spend great advertising monies, including the Jude Law advert. We've got great systems and processes. You know, all of that is only possible because we've got people in our business, and therefore, kind of the logic for me is the most important asset that we have got, any business has got, is people, because great people do great work, average people do average work, and poor people don't work at all, right? And we want to have a great business environment where people are excited to come to work every day and they feel like they're really achieving stuff.
You were describing this actually, if I might finish off with you're saying everyone wants great line managers.
Yeah, amazing line managers.
And you said that improves the performance delta, which I really liked. And so you feel confident that you have the intellectual capital in the business to take this to where you want to go?
I've got confidence that we've got great people. I've got confidence that we're becoming an attractive business that other great people want to join. We've worked hard on our leadership teams to make sure that we've got the right people on the bus doing the right things. And it's going to be a key area of attention for us going forward, because people are so important. So where's the captain heading the ship?
Yes.
He's heading towards being the best performing, most trusted and respected, and he's doing it through those six key areas. And now I really believe that we know what we want to achieve and we've got the capabilities to get there, and I'm excited to be the CEO of the business, and I hope that we'll sit together in a year's time and you'll be able to compliment me again.
Absolutely, and it's a pleasure interviewing you today.
Thank you.
A friend, and it's been great to sort of watch this journey and see where you've taken it, and I think it's full of promise right now, and your competitors are surely not underestimating you at this point in time.
Hopefully not.
I don't think so.
Thank you so much, Ali.
Charles.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
I want to buy this boat.
Built in 1928. by the renowned Baglietto yard, Varese, Italy. Nothing like it in the world. Rarer than rare. It's not for sale.
I don't want to buy it with money. I want to buy it with a story.
A story.